Hey YouTube, it's Kiana Alexander. I'm continuing my romance author FAQ series. I got a really great question in the comments from one of the other videos in the series from my girl Hazel P. Thank you for the question, Hazel. And the question was about research. Basically, how do I go about my research? And she especially wanted to know how I go about my research when we're talking about historical books. So I'll start there. With historical books, I generally start my research process online. So I go to a search engine like Google or Bing, type in the topic that I'm looking for. Like once when I was researching for The Preacher's Paramour, I had heard a story on the news about people being in a church in a city in North Carolina, in Salem, North Carolina, and hearing about being freed. So like there were slaves in the church who got the notice of being emancipated while they were sitting in Sunday service. And that kind of got me to thinking about it. And that was part of something that went into the story. So I went and searched for that church. I found out information about who the person was, who delivered the speech. And that stuff's pretty easy to find. The basic information is pretty easy to find online. If I need to go deeper, which I generally do for historicals, I generally head to the library. Librarians are my best friends. I love librarians. Put it on the record that I said that I love librarians. Librarians are the best. When you need to find out like some obscure stuff, okay, a librarian can help you out. So I leave my house, which I am loath to do sometimes, and go to the library, and I find a librarian. Reference librarians like seem to know everything, and what they don't know, they know where to find it. When I was researching for Drifting to You, which is one of my historical novellas that appeared in The Brightest Day, anthology that I did with Piper Hughley, Alyssa Cole, and Lena Hart, I needed to know more information about the Cape Fear River because my story is set on a cruise happening on Juneteenth that's going down the Cape Fear River. So I needed to know the lay of the land, as they say. I needed to know how the river was laid out, how long was the river, how long would it take for a boat, a steamboat of that era from the 1800s to be able to traverse the entire river, all that whole thing. And the locks, which are these devices that are embedded in the river that help to kind of control the level of the water, because the Cape Fear River is it wouldn't be navigable without locks. It's very it's narrow in places, then it gets wide, then it gets deep, then it gets shallow. So they use a system of locks to control the water and kind of even it out a little bit. So that was things that I didn't know about the river. I needed to know how it would be navigated so that I could write that in the story and make it more authentic. So I got hold of a reference librarian at my local library. We went all through the book stacks. We, went through the microfilms, the whole thing, pulled out these old, thick, dusty books. And I just sit down and take notes. Or maybe I use my phone, the camera on my phone, to take pictures of the pages or make photocopies or whatever. But I sit down and take notes. And that's how I get information. So I believe in researching in the trenches, especially for historicals. I will go out to the library and dig in the book stacks. I mean, that's the only way to get the information straight from the source. And I really enjoy doing research. I found out a lot of neat things. And sometimes I may be researching one story and I may find something that's so cool, it may inspire another story. So that's how I do my historical research. If I'm ever stuck for a source, if I don't know where to look for something, if it's really, really obscure and I'm thinking, I don't know even if the librarian might know where it is, I call Beverly. I call Beverly Jenkins and I say, Miss Beverly, I need to know about da 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 da. And she'll be like, oh, let me tell you where to look. She'll know the website or the book or whatever publication I need to find the information. She's like an encyclopedia. Like, she's a historian, man. I'm telling you, Beverly Jenkins is the real deal. She knows her stuff. So I can always ask her if I get stumped on something. When it comes to my contemporaries, I also do research for those. The research process is a little different. It usually involves a lot more time on the internet, less time in the library. For things that are true to life issues, I will try to contact a primary source. For instance, when I was working on Back to Your Love, which is one of my source books releases, I had a robbery take place at the heroine's medical practice, and I needed to know how it would be handled based on state law and how the city police do their thing. So I got on the phone and I called the Raleigh Police Department because this story takes place in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I called the Raleigh Police Department, got a very nice sergeant on the line, and had him explain to me the whole process. I said, look, this is what happens in my book. The robbery happens, da 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 da. I explained to him what I had. He told me how the police would handle it based on state law and what the city has set up in terms of handling crimes like this. So that was pretty simple to do. I'm not afraid to call people and ask them questions. When it comes to being accurate with my stories, it's important to me to try to be as accurate as I can. There are times that I make mistakes, but I always make my best effort. So I'm not too shy to get on the phone and be like, excuse me, kind sir, can you explain to me how this process works from a person who knows? I have written Japanese American character, so I reached out to my network, asked other writers, do y'all know somebody Japanese American? They could tell me about this whole generational thing culturally so I can be sensitive to what they do. And I found somebody. Through another writer, I found a friend of hers who happened to be Japanese American. And I got to ask her questions about the culture because I want to get it right. I want to be sensitive to any other culture that I might write about that's not my own. In terms of mental issues, I have spoken to therapists and psychiatrists about how PTSD or trauma, like how people cope with that, how it might manifest, what the symptoms might be, what the treatments are, that sort of thing. So I try to do a lot of my research for contemporaries from primary sources. I mean, I can't ask Frederick Douglass or whatever. I can't ask somebody who's passed away as a primary source, hey, what did you think about this? But when it comes to contemporaries, it's easy enough to go out and ask the person who knows, the person who this is their field of expertise. So I try to do a lot of primary source research for my contemporaries, and the rest of the research is on the internet. If I need a restaurant or a museum or a certain place that the characters are going to go on a date or whatever in a certain city, it's very easy to go to the Google, type in the city, and find, okay, Italian restaurants in this part of the city or whatever. Then I look up pictures of the place that I'm writing about to try to portray it accurately if I'm using a real place. Sometimes I create a place and it's fictional, but when I use a real place, I try to look at photographs. If it's a restaurant, I look through their menu so I can describe the kind of food they serve. So all of that stuff can be done on the internet. So that's basically how my research process works. I have also accumulated a stash of books over the years that is kind of my go-to stack that I use, and I keep them right by my desk. So all those books that you see there on various subjects relating to writing, those are some of the books that I use regularly for research. Those are my favorites. So that's basically my research process. Is basically how it works. So Hazel, thank you so much for watching and for asking that question. It was a very good question, which is why I decided to do a video response. I appreciate you watching and taking the time to comment. And so for everybody, I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into my process in terms of research. If you have more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button because you want to keep up with my shenanigans. I have lots of shenanigans coming up. Very exciting. You want to see it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit that little notification bell. Ring the bell and it'll let you know whenever I upload a video. Thanks for watching, y'all, and have a great day.